For whatever reason, one weapon I've never gotten around to giving much love to has been the Glaives, or halberds. I refer to Glaives as anything with the Lucerne or the Black Knight moveset. Now, the Glaive moveset I enjoy. I like it. It looks sexy. I'm not a big fan of the pokey weapons like the spears or the red hilted halberd, that kind of thing. I'm just not a pokey dude. Flashbacks to Dark Souls 1 non-stop stagger with the red hilted halberd. And it still kind of works to this day if your opponent is trying to do anything other than roll away. But I thought, you know, okay, let's play around with Glaives a little bit. I've had several people ask me to play around with Lucerne, so I did. And surprise, surprise, I really like this weapon. It's very nice. I started playing around with Lucerne and the Black Knight Glaive. That Christmas video I made with the Black Knight, that was one of the first times that I'd played around with it. Way back in the early days of this game, right after release, when I was doing like fight clubs outside Pontiff and stuff like that, and trying to, you know, do invasions, one weapon that always gave my straight sword fits was a halberd. And I realize now it's because I was bad, but not only that, but these things are fantastic at spacing. I'm honestly surprised you don't see them more often. Like when you fight like a solo host who's looking, you know, for PvP. This is a really good weapon for 1v1 PvP. Now there's stuff obviously that, you know, it's never going to be straight sword fast. It's never going to be dagger fast. You know, there's stuff in the meta, I understand, that beats these weapons, but against an average opponent, this is a fine weapon. It does quite a bit of damage. It has functionable, like, sort of hyper armor against straight swords and weaker stuff like that. So I mean, it's got that going for it against like your average opponent. Like if they're just gonna be content to swing into your hyper armor, and then moreover, this thing is like the god of space, man. This is fucking Galactus for you Marvel comic people, because this thing is like, if you try and play, like I used to throw out R1s as bait with a straight sword. I would throw out an R1 because I knew my second R1 would come out faster than whatever it was you were trying to do, probably. You can't do that against a glaive, and I recognize that now that I play with one. If you throw out that first R1 and you miss, and you're playing somebody who understands spacing and glaives and, like, you know, how to work it, they can punish you every time you miss an attack. Add on to that, the Lucerne is doing all thrust damage, and you can just slap the Leo ring on, as you can see I've done here, and man, you're talking serious damage. Not to mention verticality. Actually, in all seriousness, verticality with these things is kind of lackluster. The plunge hitbox appears to be kind of small. The Leo ring plus thrust damage, when you get those hits, it's pretty good damage. I think I have one clip in this video where I'll sort of show off some counter damage. But then there's also the double hit glitch, which I don't know. This is one of those things that probably should be tested. I've heard it works with scythes also. But basically, occasionally, you'll get double damage on a single hit. Now, you could say, oh, it's a headshot. Well, then it would happen more frequently, so that's obviously not correct. It has to be, by all accounts, by people who play this game and know this stuff, I've always heard it referred to as a bug or a glitch. So that's what I'll go with. I'll say it's one of those. Now, both Black Knight and Lucerne have the R1, L2 R1 combo or the R1, L2, R2 combo. And then latency depending. I mean, seriously, latency depending. You might get all of it, you might get none of it. Most of the time, you'll at least get 2/3 of it. But latency can break it up pretty bad. Where is this weapon lacking? In ambush. Like, there's no guerrilla warfare to the Lucerne. Like I said, the plunge attack hitbox is kind of not great. And then, moreover, it's bad against multiple opponents. If you can split your opponents up, great, fantastic. But I think this is more a weapon for, like, fighting the solo host when he's running back to the bonfire. And why do I think that? Because it does enough damage that it can finish someone quickly, especially with that combo. You can throw on the Leo ring and it'll punish R1 spammers. I couldn't find this host. You can see me, I'm kind of like looking around. Watch carefully on the stairs and you'll see him right there. He's a pontiff, or I'm sorry, he's one of those masks. I heard him use the white birch branch. I heard him use it. I went in that room, I couldn't find him, but there he is. Jailer. He was a jailer's mask. And his buddy put his overleveled friend put his summon sign right under him, which is hilarious. No summon timer on overleveled phantoms. Fortunately for me, it was one of those, oh, can't summon him this time, unable to summon phantom. They just had like some kind of issue or something. You can see with this character, I paired the Lucerne up with a straight sword. With another character, I paired it up with a curved sword. It's, like I said, it's not very good for multiple opponents, but so that's what, like, and here's a great example. So I feel like I had him by himself. Here comes the wizard. All right, now I've got to focus on him. Here comes Black Flame into Black Flame. GG. Like, it's not great. I lost a lot when I tried to take the Glaive moveset into multiple opponents. So what ends up happening is the Glaive becomes my go-to when it's time to go to it. In these videos, I was trying to, mainly focus on playing with the Glaive. So I'm over-relying on it quite a bit. This is a great weapon to have on you if the situation goes one-on-one. I'd say this is probably like a functioning scythe class, if that makes any sense. It's a scythe with hyper armor, for all intents and purposes, which is great. All this counter damage you got with the Leo ring against people who want to spam R1. The occasional double damage glitch you get. The damage with this thing is real. The combo potential is real. All that's missing is a way to deal with multiple people. But when your opening attack swings vertically up to down, you're in a rough spot. So here you can see I was like, all right, I'm gonna win this invasion. I had lost quite a bit. So I go back to the sword and the shield, and I'm gonna use the halberd when it's right. And it's not right now. I can't compete with ultra great sword, hyper armor, and a spellcaster. I can't do that with a halberd or a glaive. I'm sorry. Now I can do that with a straight sword and a shield. And then when these guys get separated a little bit, that's when we can go ahead and go in and like operate on these people. Like, that's the kind of precision you have with the halberd. I'm sorry, the glaive moveset. Look at his backstab. Tell me that ain't sexy. A lot of parries and backstabs, taking care of the two people, and then immediately we go to this thing to put the host away. So right here, what we're going to look for is mistakes in his spacing. Any kind of R1 spam, we're going to punish with our own. Watch this. This is Leo ring damage. And that's also Leo ring damage. That was almost 400 damage with the Leo ring counter hit. Almost 400 damage. It was 300 and something. We'll say 350. It was about 350-ish. There you can see it just tears a solo host apart if they make one mistake. 350-ish damage at level 70 was that guy. So that's pretty good for level 70. I know a lot of times you guys are like, your damage, remember, it's level 70, 60, you know. So we've moved on. We're level 82. We're using the Black Knight Glaive. No Leo ring necessary or required. No thrust damage to my knowledge. Still got that sexy moveset though. And this thing looks sexy as hell. Now, this is during my I really shouldn't be using this weapon, but I'm using it right now phase. So I get an enemy involved, and now I can focus on one guy, and the glaive will come in just handy. That roll came in just off time. Now the host charged at me with a straight sword, so I gave him the turn and burn. Basically, the glaive against a solo sword and board, you can do some damage there. You can see I had the Night Slayer's ring equipped. You know, you're not doing any elemental damage, you're not doing any chip damage, but it doesn't take a whole lot to get a guard break if you throw on that Night Slayer's ring. Now another thing that I'll add is a lot of people will try and get circle backstabs on you with a glaive or a halberd. So throw out an R1, and if you see they've blocked and they're walking around you looking for that backstab, throw out that R1 and then kick. Mix in a lot of kicks. There was a clip I got. I didn't use the Lucerne quite as much. I'll probably include it in a different video. Because this video is quite long already, but I fought a guy, he was a backstab fisher and a parry fisher, and kicks just shut him down on both counts. Now, we've systematically managed to take care of the phantoms. Well, the gargoyle took care of one, but us getting the gargoyle involved, and then, we were able to use this weapon's precision to help us get rid of the other phantom. Now it's just the host, and now it's just a matter of surgically removing him from the face of the earth, like a tumor on God's beautiful Dark Souls 3 planet. Right through the hyper armor, or we hyper armor right through the straight sword. We're gonna punish his heal. We get one of those backstabs that you get when a person is too busy running around, not paying attention to like what they're doing. They're just trying to roll and run away as best they can. And backstab Jesus will grant you with one of those good backstabs, but only if you say, "Thank you, backstab Jesus." Now, an ultra great sword. We're faster than an ultra great sword. We can outspace the ultra great sword. Right here, but we didn't break the poise of the ultra great sword. As a chase down weapon, this thing isn't bad. It's no katana, it's no spear, but it does more damage than both of those things. And the running R1 isn't bad. So, not a bad option for a chase down weapon. Maybe not the best, obviously, but it's not bad. Say your prayers. Backstab Jesus. He's listening. Alright, so back to the Lucerne. in these invasions, these are like the day after all the other invasions you just saw. So in these invasions, I'm going to use the glaive, and I'm going to use that weapon, but I'm going to pair it with what I typically use, a straight sword with one character, a curved sword with another character, and you're going to see how I'm able to use the glaive to enhance what's going on, but I'm not relying on it to beat multiple opponents. Solo host, absolutely, here comes the Lucerne, because we can do serious damage, we can get rid of him quickly. He's content to mash R1, we can punish him for that. Now, before this blue can get to us and start fucking with us, let's get to him. Let's take care of him. We're going to stick with the Lucerne so that we can get rid of him quickly. We know that host isn't going to follow him. Not into the big pile of mobs, he's not. Now, the host hid from us for a little bit. We managed to track him down right as he summoned someone, of course. Now, you see the host using that Great Shield, and the Phantom is using the Lothric Knight Shield. The weapon art on this weapon has a ability that allows it to chip through shields, which is nice. I assume it's probably doing extra stamina damage as well, extra stability damage. So, we've wailed on that guy a little bit. We get him to back off and heal. See how we're kind of keeping them separated? So we can stick with the Lucerne. We can keep using the Lucerne. Go ahead and swap back to the Leo Ring, because that counter hit, that instability hit that I got on that guy's pivot would have probably absolutely melted him if we'd had the Leo Ring on. So that was a good reminder to throw that Leo Ring back on. Now, I'm trying to get these dudes to move. I could swap to the Millwood Bow if I wanted, but I'm not sure if I have that much time. I'm not sure how serious they are about camping this bonfire, so I'm just kind of chucking some bombs down here. I want to see how serious they are about camping, and the Phantom pokes his head out. So I know they're not real serious about camping. They're basically just looking for a way to sneak up on me. They want to flank me or get me with like a pincer sort of formation kind of thing. Yep, there you can see they were going for it. Now the host has switched to a hyper armor weapon, so I'm going away from the Lucerne if I have to deal with that. It's not a good matchup for the Lucerne. Not a hyper armor weapon. A hyper armor weapon solo against the Lucerne, that's a fine matchup. You can do that. But not hyper armor plus another weapon. That the Lucerne will get mowed down. I have no idea what these guys were thinking at all. I don't know what they were attempting to do. We threw the ended Hunter Charm trying to get the host. We got him, but we also got the Phantom, who could come running in to save him. And so here, you can see he's using one of the worst Great Shields in the game, so it's not hard to get rid of him. But you can see what I'm talking about. With, like, if you can keep these dudes separate, if you can keep them, apart from each other, then the Lucerne works fine. But if you can't keep people split up, don't bother with it. Go for it when it's a solo host. But don't try and use the Lucerne in a matchup. Treat it almost like you would a katana. Like, it's great when it's time to finish the job. But it might not be the thing that's going to get rid of 2 or 3 people. So we've got spells, pyromancies, and the dude's using the Drain Twin Hammers. And I see the Dark Hand. That locked on roll puts me in the corner. Very smart. So right there, right off the bat, you see me focusing on one guy. I take a Chaos Bed Vestiges, and so what do? We're going to swap to this curved sword. We're going to use this curved sword. We're going to try and get rid of you know, one or two of these guys with the curved sword instead of trying to use the Lucerne. Nice parry. Doesn't get to take advantage of it. Try and lead him up here to the red-eyed blocker knight. He's serious business. I've said this before. I got parried earlier. I've said this before. I'll say it again. At not meta level, if someone's got a shield or a parry tool out, I have a very... Prove it to me. That's my thing. Prove it to me. Prove to me you can parry in PvP, because I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to stop spamming R1 with a curved sword into all three of you guys, you know, just because you whip out a parry tool. You better be able to prove you can use that parry tool. Now, to be fair, that guy did prove that he could use it. So, you know, well played. Can't hate on that. Now that they've chosen these weapon combinations, a fist and a straight sword, I'm feeling much better about the Lucerne. Base vigor meta. So since they switched, or since we got rid of the Drang Hammers and we got rid of the Chaos Bed Vestige Chucker, the Lucerne's a much better option. All of a sudden, we can poise through that fist. We can poise through that straight sword. So the Lucerne is great. Right there, you see me chip through the shield a little bit. Just poison through that straight sword. No big deal. And I'm wearing Wilhelm's armor, Wilhelm's helmet, and Uria's legs and pants. So I'm not getting like a shit ton of poise with this guy, but I'm still able to poise through that straight sword. A lot of people will remember, you know, right after the game came out, how much poise halberds, I'm sorry, glaives. I'm gonna do that. I'm sorry. How much poise glaives had on them around the release of the game. Scott Jund was a big fan of the Black Knight halberd right after release because it had all kinds of hyper armor. The poise patch that they did. Right before Ashes of Ariandel, or right with Ashes of Ariandel, it took away, it weakened a lot of weapons' hyper armor, and it improved poise. So this thing sort of fell out of favor. If you wanted to build a tanky poise guy with, you know, Black Knight, Glaive, or the Angels, the Twin Angels, Glaive, Halberd, whatever it's called, you would need a lot of poise. Now, since these guys have to deal with the deacons, you can see I'm able to split them up and just like, I'm telling you, man, you get to play doctor with this thing because you are a surgeon. You can see I've turned everything into a one-on-one fight. Alright, now the deacons are dead. So that mindset is gone. We're not going to be able to do that anymore. Alright, now I'm trying to keep them in a straight line, and the Lucerne will be alright. If I can keep them in a conga line, the Lucerne will just pick them off one at a time. Here comes my other invader buddy. Got that Kobe free aim right there. He's got the 2v1 for a minute. He you know, kind of backs off to heal or whatever, so it turns into a bit of a 3v1. Kick. You see somebody turtle it up around your glaive, throw out a kick, man. Alright, now he took the 2v1. That allowed me to beat one of the Phantoms. We go ahead and put on the Leo ring. Since this dude's playing with a straight sword, we can probably get some good counter damage on him if he doesn't die beforehand. RIP. So I'm done. Thanks you guys for watching. I hope it helped. Hope you learned something. Later, y'all.